Welcome to the Daily Report, and I tell you tonight we've got a jam-packed bulletin for you. On our weekly segment, Power and Politics, we host a man who was at the center of two monumental events in the country. I'm talking about Professor Abdi Yakub Guliye, a former commissioner at the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is IEBC. Professor Guliye, who is already here in studio, made history as being one of only 3 commissioners to ever serve a full term at the IEBC. Tonight, he lifts the lead on the behind the scenes during his tenure at the Commission, as well as the lessons learned from the somewhat feared jobs. How did he navigate the 6 years? He speaks tonight in a candid, exclusive interview. We invite you to channel your feedback. Our SMS line is 22047 or on Twitter at TV47News. You can tweet me directly at @GeorgeMaringa_. Use the hashtag #TheDailyReport. But before that important conversation, which is coming your way shortly on the show tonight, let's get you informed with some of the stories making headlines. Tonight, Azimio la Umoja has officially revealed the identities of its 5 negotiators for talks with Kenya Kwanza. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka will spearhead the opposition team's efforts to address the prolonged stalemate resulting from weeks of anti-government protests. Cabinet Secretary for Information Eliud Owalo assures Kenyans that the government has implemented robust measures to safeguard their personal data from cyber attacks.
I want to assure Kenyans that the data that is held by government on their behalf is secure. And a total of 140,107 students have been granted placement into degree programs, with 130,485 securing spots in public universities and 9,622 gaining admission to private universities. Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Mashogu now says. A very good evening once again, and thank you for joining us on the program. My name is George Maringa. Our sign language interpreter is Catherine Similai. Let's get you informed, shall we? And Azimio la Umoja has settled on Wiper Party leader and former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka to lead talks with Kenya Kwanza alongside other top lieutenants drawn from the opposition side. The list of negotiators comes a day after the coalition listed down the agenda that they want to be top at the negotiation table. That story, once again, is that Azimio has chosen Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, as well as who is also former Vice President, to lead talks with Kenya Kwanza alongside other top lieutenants drawn from the opposition side. The list of negotiators comes a day after the coalition listed down the agenda that they want to be at the top of negotiations table. Moiga William with the details.
The Raila-led Azimio la Umoja coalition has officially unveiled the names of its 5 negotiators in readiness for talks with Kenya Kwanza. The opposition will be led by Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka in talks with President William Ruto's side in a bid to address the stalemate occasioned by weeks of anti-government protests. The opposition has also settled on former Defense Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa, National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, Malindi Member of Parliament Amina Mnyazi, and Nyamira Senator Okongo Omong'eni. It is reported that the team had been agreed upon by the coalition during a meeting at Odinga's current residence Sunday, in a meeting also attended by former President Uhuru Kenyatta. In a statement to Newsroom, Azimio was quick to highlight that their position remains that no party to the negotiations can claim a right to determine for the other what to raise and what not to raise, adding that Azimio will respect Kenya Kwanza's right to bring all its issues to the table, expecting Kenya Kwanza to do the same with Azimio's issues. The names unveiling by Azimio follows an agreement between President William Ruto and Raila Odinga agreeing to hold talks with a 4-point agenda from the opposition being the cost of living, electoral audit reforms, interference in coalitions and their constituent parties, and probe into police brutality. The coalition has reiterated that it is keen on a time-bound program of talks, highlighting that it should take 1 month beginning on the 1st of August 2023. Mwegi William, TV 47.
Thank you, Moige, for that. Now, following President William Ruto's agreement to hold a dialogue with opposition leader Raila Odinga, the decision has sparked a flurry of mixed reactions among residents in several counties across the country. And as our reporter Nelly Lusigi tells us in this story produced by Daniel Kihoro, several political analysts have voiced their perspectives on the matter.
In the aftermath of President William Ruto's decision to engage in dialogue with opposition leader Raila Odinga, the move has elicited a variety of responses from residents counties such as Kisumu, Bungoma and Meru.
Tunasema ni wakati wake sasa kupumzika, sababu yeye amesungusha inji nyuma mbele, kila kona ameisungusha.
Tutakwenda kuongea waongee, lakini sisi tunajua tunaenda kutucheza akili. Politics ya Kenya tunajua.
Waongee, hatukatai mazungumzo. Lakini kile naomba ni Ruto asikubali Raila aingie kwa serikali.
But what direction should these talks take?
Mambo ya hiyo handshake tunasema ni sawa, kwa sababu Wakenya kweli, kusema ukweli, Raila kitamba toke aende kwa barabara, Wakenya wameumia sana.
Ya kwamba Raila walienda kuongea na Ruto walijificha, wakaanza Kalonzo, Mata na wengine. Mbona hiyo? Si wangeitana wote waongee pamoja tukiona?
First of all, when you're in competition, there are certain things you don't accept quickly. So we call it waiting to see who will blink first. Kwa hivyo ukitazama yale maongezi rais amekuwa nayo na yale Raila amekuwa nayo, ni kama maongezi ya kila mtu anavuta kwake.
Some political analysts have emphasized the importance of having an opposition for the country's progress. Despite differing opinions among citizens on the issue, analysts point out that the influence of one side can lead to the consent for dialogue.
William Ruto ama rais wa Kenya ako katika ile tunaita katika kimombo special position. Kwa sababu yeye amekuwa naibu rais na mambo ya handshake anayajua na mambo yaliyofanyika kwake, na kwa hivyo kama kuna mtu anaelewa sana effect ama impact ya handshake ni yeye.
But the unfortunate bit is they would also be concerned, or they will be worried if the talks actually come in with a different, with different prayers or different kind of agreements.
Additionally, religious leaders have recently called on the leaders to participate in talks as means to foster peace and stability in the nation. Nelly Lusigi, TV 47.
Thanks, Nelly, for that. Let's take you to Uasin Gishu, where the steering committee tasked with preparations to ensure the success of the first biennial Devolution conference to be held in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu next month, which begins tomorrow, says the readiness status is at 100%. The council finalized by welcoming the recent High Court judgment on declaration of the illegality of Kenya Tissue and Transplant Authority, noting that it is a milestone for devolution, among others. The council also called upon the Senate to initiate amendments for the States Corporation Act 2010 to ensure that it aligns with the devolved system of governance.
We wish to confirm to the country that the Council of Governors, together with its partners, has concluded the planning process for the Devolution Conference 2023, whose theme is 10 years of devolution, the present and the future. We have lined up pre-conference activities such as athletics and football to interact with the members of the public ahead of the conference. The Council welcomes the recent High Court judgment, which declared the establishment of the Kenya Tissue and Transplant Authority to be illegal. This is a victory for devolution, as it sets precedent on the establishment of parastatals that undertake devolved functions vid legal notices. We call upon the Senate to initiate amendments to the State Corporations Act 2010 to ensure that it aligns to the devolved system of governance. We note with concern the continuous attempts by national government departments, ministries and agencies to claw back on devolution from time to time, especially on devolved functions such as markets, housing, lighting, water, provision of fertilizer and seeds in the agricultural sector. While the Council of Governors has continued to embrace the spirit of consultation, the leadership of the Council will engage the respective ministries to address the issues of encroachment on devolved functions.
Now, barely half of the students who sat the 2022 KCSE and were eligible for placement in universities will join the institutions. This is according to Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu, who says many students did not submit their applications for placement. 140,107 students secured placement to degree programs, and of these, 130,485 will join public universities, while the other 9,622 will join private universities. 144,500 applicants have been placed in secondary teacher training colleges. 9,673 applicants who qualified for degree courses willingly chose to be placed in TVET institutions. Now, Kenya might not reach its 70% exclusive 6 months breastfeeding target for the year 2030. This is according to experts in the breastfeeding field who warn that the 1% drop reflected in the 2022 Kenya Demographic Health Survey is a key indicator of the dire situation in terms of exclusive breastfeeding in the country. Zainab Mohammed with more details.
Thing for us also. The rate of exclusive breastfeeding in the year 2014 was at 61%. However, in 2022, it dropped by 1% to 60%, with experts now expressing concerns that this decline jeopardizes the country's ability to achieve its target of 70% by 2030.
The statement that says that Kenya will not reach that, well, I think it's meant to challenge us much more than to make it say that now that is cast in stone. Unless all of us work together, then we are not at our very best. When you see us now dropping as opposed to rising the exclusive breastfeeding, it therefore means that the trajectory is not very promising, which is unfortunate. So we've got to put efforts, we've got to pull our efforts together to ensure that we change it from dropping to increasing so as we're able to meet the target at the year 2030.
According to the experts, the decline poses significant health risks to both babies and mothers, as well as the overall population. Critical sectors such as health, education, and the workforce are also at risk due to the decrease in breastfeeding rates.
If we don't reach our targets for exclusive breastfeeding, it means, number one, we are disadvantaging the children that are not exclusively breastfed. If we had space, then I'll tell you that when children don't get the exclusive breastfeeding, we are giving them an inadequate, inappropriate diet before they are tiny. That means that they do not grow as expected. If children do not grow as expected, then we are giving them room for them to suffer from malnutrition, and malnutrition has its own effects as far as the capacity of the child is concerned.
Further, the experts are particularly alarmed by the substantial increase in bottle feeding, which rose from 22% in 2014 to 34% in 2022.
Of course, the danger as far as this is concerned is that babies that are bottle fed, they have what we call a nipple confusion, or they're likely to suffer. They may not be able to attach very well or to enjoy the breastfeeding because they have known an easier way of getting milk without having to suckle, because suckling has some efforts to be put into that, and the efforts is what helps to develop the jaws of the baby even as this baby grows.
The world is set to mark World Breastfeeding Week starting tomorrow, 1st of August, with this year's theme being enabling breastfeeding to make a difference for working parents. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
Thank you, Zainab, for that. Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo has promised Kenyans that the government has put in place adequate measures to ensure their personal data is protected from cyber attacks. Owalo has further maintained that the e-Citizen portal was not hacked, but there were unsuccessful attempts which were countered by the ministry on time.
In his assurance message to Kenyans, CS Owalo has highlighted that his ministry, through the Office of Data Protection, has taken significant steps to implement risk mitigation measures in ensuring the protection of data belonging to Kenyan citizens. Owalo has emphasized the importance of personal data security, while urging Kenyans to exercise caution and be vigilant about safeguarding the information.
The mandate of the Office of the Data Commissioner is to ensure that within our digitalization agenda, we are also ensuring adequate levels of both data privacy and data security.
Owalo notes that the government, through the Ministry of Information, Communication and Digital Economy, is taking proactive steps to enhance digital accessibility for all Kenyans. To achieve this, the government plans to establish digital hubs in every ward, in ensuring that government digital services are easily accessible to citizens at the grassroots level.
We have gone ahead to identify a possible 14,690 public Wi-Fi hotspots spread evenly across the country.
Addressing the issue of digital identification card, ECS Owalo clarified that the government will not impose mandatory registration for the program. However, Owalo has highlighted the significance of this registration in making government services available online, streamlining processes and enhancing efficiency in service delivery.
And I want to clarify that the digital identity we are talking about is not the same thing as the Oduma number, both in terms of objective and context. The Oduma number was meant to facilitate the development of an electronic population database. What we are saying today is that we need a virtual means through which government can confirm that you are whom you claim to be.
Jackson Chacha, TV47.
Now, Naivas aims to benefit from the start of peak tourism season by strategically positioning convenience stores in the coastal region. Speaking during the opening of the chain's second supermarket in Malindi County, Naivas Chief of Strategy Andreas von Baleske says this now brings the total number of coastal branches to 10. The chain of supermarkets, which is the largest in the country, brags of 97 supermarkets and is aiming to hit the 100 mark soon.
The overall formal retail sector penetration in Kenya remains relatively low in comparison to other African countries, at approximately 30%. This is despite a healthy post-COVID bounce back of retail stores and a record of the highest foot traffic recorded among businesses. Naivas Supermarket has taken to a more diversified approach at reaching customers by appealing to convenience in reach.
We are on a journey to 100 and beyond. But I think contribution also in terms of bringing value for money to the market. Good quality products at very attractive prices, which we believe will help customers in the area, but also help stimulate the local economy.
The retail chain has, through 97 supermarkets across the country, taken to being within a workable radius of customers.
The cost of opening a given store can range anywhere from 50 to 200 million shillings, but I think it's worth it saying that Naivas as a business spends in excess of 2 billion shillings annually opening new stores. So the investment that we make in the country, in the economy, purely in terms of store openings, on top of creating jobs and, as I said, bringing value for money goods is significant.
We can see business has opened up, the place is fully packed, fully booked. That shows that people want to invest. They just lack the premises and they're asked to invest.
The expansion efforts will see to over 50 to 100 new staff being employed in the newer branches. This will also work towards upholding customer satisfaction and quality assurance. Hibak Said for TV47.
Thank you, Hibak, for that report. As promised, Professor Guliye is already here in studio for that important conversation. As you can see on your screen right there, he is on the other side of the studio. We shall be having that conversation. I promised you with him that exclusive one-on-one candid interview coming your way in a short while. But before then, Peter Kenywa, a sound engineer and music producer, holds the view that simple and affordable practices that are taken for granted can guarantee a safe and clean environment, and that's why he has assembled discarded glass bottles, recycling them into building materials. Our very own Chichi Josephine interacted with a young innovator and filed the following report.
They say innovation is the creation of the new or the rearranging of the old in a new way. Nakuru-based 39-year-old father of two, Peter Kinyua, is redefining the narrative about environmental conservation. The trained sound engineer and music producer holds the view that simple and affordable practices that are taken for granted can guarantee a safe and clean environment, and that is why he has assembled a team of 12 young men who have been recycling discarded glass bottles into building materials as his contribution to not only creating a clean and safe environment but also improving the economic well-being of his team.
Wakati nilifikiria kufanya hii, nilitaka kuona ni kitu gani kinaweza toka kwa hii kitu ambao ni waste, because I always believe what is a waste to you, it's something important to another person. Ile nguo mzee kwako kwa mwingine akichukua ni mpya. So I thought of this thing, na wale tuko nao hapa ni vijana tunasaidiana na wao. I cannot say that I have employed them because mimi nina idea na niliwaambia kujeni tukuze kitu. One day inaweza tusaidia. Tumekuwa tukiwork na wao.
The founder of Nakuru Eco Solutions Innovators gathers waste glass bottles and fabricates them into pavement covers, marble tops, building blocks, kitchen worktops and ventilation slabs, all of which we can see here in his yard. A striking spectacle lined with stacks of waste glass, grimy bottles straight from the dump sites, and half-processed cutlets just waiting to be turned into finished products.
We do correct the bottles from the environments. We have some people ambao ni marafiki zangu pia wananiletea.
Cleaning and sorting according to color follows, and thereafter crushing and special fabrication.
We sort them by colors, then we clean them. Kama ni vyoo hizi za nyumba, vyoo tunaweka by colors kando kando, then we start smashing them into small, we reduce them because our machine cannot accommodate the big type, so we reduce the sizes, then we take them to the machine. So we smash kulingana na colors. Kama ni brown, we deal with browns, we put aside, we go for the clear, we do the clear bottles and also glasses, we do the browns, like that. Tunazifanya kando kando, then we are able to pack them.
The mixture is placed into different molds depending on the building product intended for production and left for days to cure, after which they are ready for polishing and smoothing.
What our machine does, iko na uwezo wa kutoa mchanga uende separate na glasses, kitu chochote ambao is considered kama uchafu. Ya uchafu inaipeleka upande wa uchafu, sababu uchafu inachukua baka ile grade ile ndogo ambao hauwezi kutumia kwa product kama hii, inaitoa ikiwa unga kabisa. Then the other side inatoa ile product tunahitaji kutoka grade 2 up to 5. Grade tunamaanisha kutoka kwa hii hazitoshani zote, ziko na different sizes Ziko na different size, sababu kuna ile tunatengenezea nayo vitu kama ventilation, and when you are making marbles you need to see the beauty of the glass. So hizo grade ndio zinasaidia.
Although he and his team make a modest living out of the venture, they derive gratification from the group's sense of duty to the environment.
So far we are still doing experiment. We have done so many samples. We have people who have asked for sample because this is Kenya, this is Africa. They have to see before they believe it. So we have done a lot of samples. They have gone out there, and we are still to do more.
Kinyua offers that he and his colleagues are actively propagating environmental conservation among their peers to encourage value addition to discarded glass.
Already watu wamesha recycle plastic, lakini ijaisha. Wana recycle, ikivunjika inaokotwa, inarudishwa kampuni, inachemushwa, inatoka ile plastic ingine. Mimi nikawa nafikiria, the government has been talking about illicit brews. Hizi chupa wenye wanapack the illicit brews, they don't produce chupa. Wanaokota zimekuwa produced na hazijarudi kwa kampuni, zinatupwa. So nikafikiria hii chupa ikifika kwa mkono yangu, I will not make it a bottle. I will turn it to a different product.
Nakuru has a daily output of refuse in excess of 1,000 tons, coupled with limited capacity in collection management and proper disposal. Garbage has become a nightmare and an eyesore.
The challenge I've been facing is the collecting of material because I don't have my own vehicle. Sometimes tutatumia tuk-tuk, go around correct. If there are so many, we have to hire a pickup.
The youthful entrepreneur is hoping to turn his desire to conserve the environment and his entrepreneurial acumen into a thriving business in the near future.
We need a machine that can crush not less than around 10 to 20 tons a day of glasses. That means to achieve ile kitu, we are able to go anywhere in this county, and not necessarily going to every county, that we are able to plant this system to every county.
According to Mr. Patrick Mushindo, besides offering eco-friendly solutions, the group volunteers their craftsmanship for vocational training.
Nakuru is highly affected with the confirmed gangs. So if we can be given an opportunity, we can also reach out to them. Hatuwezi kosa opportunity ya kutoa kijana ronda ama popote. All of us are hustlers. Like Jabu is from the street. We are brought from the ghetto.
Theirs is one mission: to train street families and share with them the skill to create opportunities, as well as create cleaner, safer, greener neighborhood.
If we can have manpower from people from down there, even street kids, we can bring them on board and maybe give them a token every month and keep their lives going.
Machupa ni mingi lakini hakuna place ya kuweka. Kuna place ya kuweka hizo marbles. So venye tunaweza tu mtu ajitolee tusaidie kiwanja kubwa.
Kile kitu ningependa kuambia vijana wetu, stop running around throwing stones. That will not help you. Sit down and think. Give the government solution to create job opportunity.
Chichi Josephine, TV47.
Thank you, Chichi, for that report. Time now for sports news. I hand you over to Dennis Otieno. He's on the other side. Dennis, what have you got for us?
Well, thank you, George Maringa. Tonight, we have lined up a lot for you in the world of sports. We shall be telling you how Kenyan boxers performed in the Africa Boxing Confederation Championships. We shall also be telling you what Team Kenya has been cooking in the residential training camp at the Kasarani Stadium ahead of the Commonwealth Youth Games. Those among many other sports stories coming right up. A very warm welcome to Primetime Sports. My name is Dennis Otieno. Now let's start off with matters boxing. Kenyan boxers Boniface Mugunde and Robert Osaka qualified into the quarterfinals of the Africa Boxing Confederation Championships after winning their respective bouts in the competition in Yaoundé, Cameroon. Osaka made light work of Uganda's Robert Osaka Idrissa Mukibi with a series of punches that sent him to the canvas, a situation that saw the South African match official Gideon Mzizandile stopping the bout within 1 minute and 22 seconds of the first round. Meanwhile, Mugunde defeated Burundi's Nesta Ndugwagugira with scores of 29-28, 30-27, 28-29, 30-27 and 29-28 to set up a quarterfinals tie against Mauritius' Marvin Clare. Teresia Wanjiru, however, lost her lightweight welterweight bout to Cameroon's Janine Mabala Mboki in the third round.
Na Burundi round 1 nilikuwa na game plan ya kucheza mbali, though iko imeingiana, nikacheza mbali nikapata Burundi akachukua ikakuwa 3-2, so ikabidi niende na game plan sana ya pili. Sasa makocha wakaniambia aini nafaa kuingia ndani, sasa nicheze ndani, niweke guard na niingie ndani nisirudi nyuma, na ikawak, na nashukuru makocha sana kwa kunisaidia hivyo. At least walinisoma wakajua hivyo, niliingia ndani na hiyo game plan ya makocha na ikawaka. So round ya pili nikachukua, round ya tatu pia nikachukua, na ushindi ikakuwa kwetu Kenya. Nashukuru sana.
Imekuwa ni mchezo very tricky, manake huyu boxer kutoka Burundi alikuwa ni southpaw, na round ya kwanza Boniface akawa na problem ya kumcontain. Ikabidi to change strategy katika round ya pili ili tuweze kusimama twende naye toe to toe, countering punches zake ndio tuweze kupata huo ushindi. So tunashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa ushindi huo, na nafikiri sasa tuko tayari for the remaining business.
Congratulations to Team Kenya for registering the good results in Yaoundé, Cameroon, and all the best in their upcoming endeavors. Now moving on from matters boxing to javelin. Africa Junior Championships javelin silver medalist Carolina Nyango is gearing up for the Commonwealth Youth Games slated for 4th to 11th August this year in Trinidad and Tobago as she continues her training at the Kasarani Stadium, where she has made remarkable progress in her throws. Anyango has shown impressive progress in her training, where she improved her throw from 42 meters to 48 meters. Anyango, who is under the mentorship of javelin legend Julius Yego, has been receiving invaluable tips and techniques from Yego, which fuel her dedication and determination. With her sights set on the Commonwealth Youth Games, Carolina aspires to improve on her previous performance and etch her name in the archives of sporting history as she dreams of breaking a world record.
Mazoezi naendelea vizuri, naona nimeimprove, nimemaster hizo techniques za kukimbia hiyo kwa hiyo runway then na kulock. Nilisikia vizuri kwa sababu sikuwa ijua kama nitakuwa na chance kama hiyo ya kufika huko Zambia. Sasa venye tena nimeitwa kwa youth, najua nitamake kwa sababu venye nilirusha huko Zambia nilikuwa na 42. Then saizi nimeimprove niko kwa 48. Changamoto yenye naweza sema ni venye nikiwa huko nyumbani kwa sina hiyo implement. Ingekuwa niko na hiyo implement ningerusha kushinda hiyo saa 48. Naweza waambia kama wanaweza nisaidia na hiyo implement hata kama ni 2, nikuwe nikifanya mazoezi, I know nita improve kushinda hapo penye niko.
And as soon as Carolina Nyango completed a training regiment at the Kasarani Stadium, she headed all the way to the headquarters of the Ministry of Sports at the Kenya National Library, where Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba assured Kenyans that the current Team Kenya, set to travel for Trinidad and Tobago for the 2023 Commonwealth Youth Games, is the best prepared all-inclusive team ready to register good results. CS Namwamba was speaking during the flag handover ceremony for the Team Kenya that will participate in the games slated to begin from 4th to 11th August this year. CS Namwamba emphasized that most of the players enlisted in various teams were drawn from the National Olympic Committee of Kenya's NOC Youth Development Program that sought to develop sporting talents during school holidays at camps under the tutorship and mentorship of coaches and other experts. The team that has been in residential camp at the Kasarani Stadium since July 18th this year is set to depart the country for Trinidad and Tobago Monday night.
Every podium finish, every medal winner, bronze, silver, gold, will be rewarded in accordance with our new reward scheme.
We have some sports where we feel there are podium potential, quite a number of them. The others who we know because of the history and the training we've gone through them, we know that we expect them to be competitive. We prepare them to go and represent the country. We prepare them to go and give it their best. We believe they'll give it their best. We believe they'll be competitive enough for that particular level, and we expect them to come with good results.
The National Rugby Sevens circuit is set to resume this weekend after a 2-week recess, with the third leg of the circuit, the Prince Lu Sevens, being held in Nakuru. The highlight of the tournament will be the Nakuru City Derby between men.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Moyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Katika majengo haya, hapa ndipo sheria zinapotungwa na zinapopakuliwa. Nitakuletea viongozi mbalimbali, mirengo mbalimbali, wote kwa pamoja wakipika na kupakua. Tutawapa nafasi kuweza kuangazia changamoto na mafanikio ya ugatuzi katika ukumbi wa siasa kila siku ya Jumanne kuanzia saa 1 kamili na kuendelea.
Toka eneo hili la Naivasha kwenye kaunti 032, gatuzi la Nakuru.
Kutoka kaunti ya Elgeyo Marakwet, kaunti 028.
Nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Wajir.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Turukana.
Kwa matukio yote yanayojiri katika kaunti hii 012.
Kutoka kaunti nambari 1, kaunti ya Mombasa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Lamu.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka Kisii County.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Machakos.
Kutoka kaunti hii ya Trans Nzoia.
Kaunti 038.
Kutoka gatuzi nambari 029, kaunti ya Nandi, chemichemi ya mabingwa.
Nikiripotia TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Kakamega.
Itakuwa nikiripotia runinga ya TV47 kutoka kaunti ya Bungoma.
Jina langu ni Paula Munio.
Willy Dennis Njiru.
Fabian Kibet.
Mimi ni Hashim Jimal.
Mimi ni Kitio Mika Masai. John Javakiania.
Jina langu ni Abdulaziz Nameka.
Mimi ni Kombo Alfayo.
Jina langu ni Nicholas Mbai.
Isaac Famba.
Mimi ni Wanji Sosti.
Jina langu ni Arnold Adidi.
Jina langu ni Chris Bet.
Jina langu ni Violet Auma.
Na TV47 inapotamba, mimi Sheila Chelangat nitakuwa nikiripotia maswala yanayokuhusu wewe kila kuchao. Every Thursday 7:30 p.m. unapata nafasi kufahamu.
Dennis, indeed, you caught me going through some of the feedback on Twitter as well as our SMS portal. We invite you to join on the conversation that is coming up with our guest tonight, that exclusive interview with Professor Guliye, who is a former commissioner of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is IEBC. Continue channeling your feedback, your questions, your thoughts to him. We shall be sure to involve him and ask him some of your questions that you will have for us right here. You can see he's already here in studio. We shall be having that conversation in a short while, just after this short commercial break. Do stay with us.
Imagine with 200 bob only, you can be your own landlord. Yes, everyone now has an opportunity to become a homeowner through Boma Yangu. Start saving any amount towards the 10% deposit required for unit allocation. Register through *832# or log in through www.bomayangu.go.ke and deposit 200 shillings as the registration fee and as the initiation deposit. Dial *832# and take advantage of this opportunity. Boma Yangu is a government affordable housing program.
Mafasi mupo! Watazamaji, tuko hapa kwa ajili ya shindano la kutafuna pilipili sinia moja. Atakayemaliza wa kwanza anakabidhiwa shilingi 1,100. Hapana, 1,000. Nyeupe uko tayari?
Tayari.
Nyeusi uko tayari?
Uko tayari bana, leta hiki kitu.
Haya basi, twende. Kutafuna. Hey.
Mbona upitie hizi shida zote na unaweza jishindia 100,000 times your bet ndani ya Lotto Mega Draw.
It's easier, it's bigger, it's
better. It's Grand Mega Draw. Cheza na shilingi 50 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ushinde Mega Cash ya 200 million. Isitoshe, kuna Mega Bonus ya up to 20 million shillings kila Jumatano na Jumamosi. Sio ndoto, unangoja nini? Cheza Lotto, it could be you. Nenda kwa M-Pesa paybill number 777-000. Andika neno Chapa kama account name. Cheza na kati ya shilingi 50 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ubambito na Lotto.
Over 18s only. Gaming can be addictive. Play responsibly. This message has been approved by the BCLB.
Welcome to the Mwai Kibaki Convention Center, the premier events venue. Our state-of-the-art facilities are designed to meet all your needs, from large-scale conferences to intimate meetings and everything in between. Located in the heart of Thika, the Mwai Kibaki Convention Center offers stunning views of the city skyline and is easily accessible from all major transportation hubs. Our facility features ample parking, free Wi-Fi, advanced audiovisual equipment, and our technical team is always on hand to ensure your event runs smoothly and seamlessly. Don't take our word for it. Make your next event unforgettable at the Mwai Kibaki Convention Center. Contact us today for bookings and reservations. Email multimedia@mku.ac.ke or call us on 0708 212204 or 0727 441733 or 0721 438 629 to learn more about our services and book your event.
Radio 47. Tuko nawe mchana kutwa na usiku kucha.
The news that matters the most is the one that hits close to home. When disasters strike, we are there to inform you. When the bullets are flying, we tell you who's shooting and why. Reporting on your victories, your health, your money, your security, your past, present, and future. We are interested in telling the stories of creativity, hard work, and resilience that you are known for.
That is our job. This is my job. My name is Victor Muyakane, and it's my honor to bring you this news this way every Thursday night on the home of Untold Stories.
Welcome back and thank you so much for staying with the Daily Report right here on your qualified news channel, that is TV47. Time now for that interview on our segment Power and Politics. Tonight I host Professor Abdi Guliye. He is a former commissioner at the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is IEBC. And Professor Guliye made history as being one of only three commissioners to ever, one among three commissioners to ever serve a full term at the IEBC. And tonight, he will lift the lead on a myriad of issues regarding what happened, of course, in the 2022, the 2017 general election, and much more, because this is considered sort of somewhat a tough job that many seem to avoid. But Prof right here stayed through his 6-year term. We shall be curious to find out, and we shall be hearing what he has to say in this candid and exclusive interview right here on TV47. You can trust us for these such-like interviews right here on your channel, favorite channel, TV47. My name is George Maringa. Once again, we invite you to channel your feedback on Twitter at TV47 News, at George Maringa _. Use the hashtag Daily Report, as well as on our SMS line, that is 22047. Prof, thank you so much for joining us on the Daily Report tonight, and welcome to our studios.
Asante sana.
Prof, I'd like to begin this conversation by playing a certain video here. Prof, it will perhaps, reinvigorate your memory, and let's take a look at that clip.
I, Professor Abdi Guliye, having been appointed as a member to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, do solemnly swear that I will at all times obey, respect, and uphold the Constitution of Kenya and all other laws of the Republic, that I will faithfully and fully, impartially, and to the best of my ability, discharge the trust and perform the functions and exercise the powers devolving upon me by virtue of this appointment without fear, favor, bias, affection, ill will, or prejudice. So help me God.
Prof, that was on January 20th, 2017. That clip, perhaps, it's a memory that you will remember. I'd like to begin by asking you what was going on through your mind in that moment, and what vision did you have while joining the commission?
Thank you very much. I think it's quite a while back, 2017 January 20th, to be specific. I was straight from the university at that time. Never heard anything about, well, I heard about IEBC, but I didn't have any interaction with IEBC at that time. And didn't know much about elections, apart from having overseen elections at the university, student elections at the university on 2 consecutive years. And perhaps that was the only experience I had on matters elections. And so I was looking forward to what the new job entailed, and to give my best contribution to serve this particular country and my countrymen as well. So I was enthusiastic about the job, and I don't regret. Yes.
The former chairman, that is Ahmed Isaac Hassan, in his book he says that he was inspired or encouraged by the former Justice Minister for the former Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Martha Karua, as well as Amina Mohammed, and his partner at the law firm. Who or what inspired you to apply for this position?
To be honest, I didn't have much interest in the job at first. And my application was on the last day. I submitted my application on the last day of the advert.
Yes.
And the reason was that a number of my colleagues, felt, I could take up this position. A couple of friends, both, in politics, some out of politics, some very close, friends of mine. They actually encouraged me to apply. And to be honest, at that time, I had just won, I was leading a team that won a project at the university, which was $6 million, a 5-year project. And I was pretty comfortable to implement my project.
Yeah.
And so I was not very keen to move out of the university at that time. But my colleagues, my friends, prevailed upon me to just put in my application and give it a try. I had applied for commissions before, and I wasn't, impressed by the process, and how, I was not even shortlisted in some of them. So I wasn't keen, but just to make my friends, tell them that I have applied. So that's why at the very last day is when I submitted my application.
When you say the university, you mean Egerton University?
Egerton University, yes, that's my home university.
And Prof, I see your research interests are in rumen microbial fermentation?
Yeah, I'm an animal nutritionist, basically. Yes.
I mean, from an animal nutritionist to matters elections, that is quite a big contrast.
We deal with animals that don't talk. Human beings are animals that talk. And so if we can communicate and handle animals that don't talk, I think it is easier to handle animals that talk. So it wasn't difficult to adjust.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, you served until January 17th, 2023. When you left, did you feel free at last?
I was relieved. The pressures were too much. The work was quite demanding. And we joined the commission, if you recall, barely 6 or so months, 6 or 7 months to the general election.
Yes.
we were learning at the same time implementing the election that was, upcoming. And since that time, we were looking inward for almost 4 years. We were looking at the systems, improving on things, procedures, processes. And then came the election, which was now the 2022, after we went through the 2017 elections.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I was looking forward to actually retiring from that crazy job.
How crazy
yes,
was it?
It's crazy in the sense that you go there and you want to serve the country.
Yeah.
The minute you land there, you are profiled. From day one, you are profiled.
As what or who?
I mean, all politicians profile you. So you have to be careful whom you talk to. You have to be careful whom you work with. You have to be careful where you go. And literally, you lose many of your day-to-day friends. And so I believe for the 6 years I was there, I was either in the office doing office work or in my house. And so there is not much social life because you never know who will be there to say, I was with so-and-so. So yeah, it was an experience that I don't want to repeat again.
Okay, you don't want to repeat it?
No, I've had enough. Yes.
We'll get to, what made you get fed up with, or, have enough with this. But you and only 2 other commissioners, that is the chairman, former chairman of Ole Chebukati, and Boya Molu, are the ones that, made history as being the first 3 commissioners to serve for the 6-year term. You oversaw the 2017 general election and the 2022 general election. And then along the way, several commissioners resigned. Why did you hang
on? If you recall, I think immediately after the 2017 general elections, the election was at the time nullified.
Yes.
Purely on procedural matters, nothing really very substantive in terms of the numbers that were provided. And then we had the repeat election, and of course, we are all aware what happened. Certain candidates decided they wouldn't be part of the repeat election, and that itself caused some of the commissioners to, abandon us. And so the subsequent to after the elections and in preparation of the subsequent election, which was 2022, I think we decided, the 3 of us, that we will stay put and make sure that we improve the institution for the better.
Yeah.
And so that was the motivation we had. Especially the chairman and Commissioner Molu. That is the motivation that we had, that this is our country. We have found an institution that probably needed improvements here and there. And so that made us to hang on to make sure that we improve on processes, we improve on procedures, and ensure that come the next election, which was 2022, we conduct the best election in the country that the country has ever had.
And did you achieve that?
Yes, we are quite satisfied with what we achieved, and we are actually very proud of what we achieved because it turned out to be the best election in the country.
You argue, Prof, that the 2017 election was barely on it was procedural issues that based its nullification, but procedurally within the commission. At the time, let's go to 2017, were there rifts when you came in, because you came in 6-7 months ahead of the election? Did you experience rifts immediately, or at what point did the rifts come in?
I mean, when we landed there, of course, we had, we came from different backgrounds. Yeah. We were from different institutions. And so we barely knew each other. So it took a period for us to know each other,
weeks, months,
work together. I mean, we had about 3-4 months, which we had, no issues. We were all working together, and we found election operations in place, plan in place. And so all we were doing was to implement, the election operations plan and make improvements where possible, bearing in mind we came too late into the scene. But I think the little arguments that we had thereafter is particularly after the election, the main general election that was held, and particularly towards the repeat election. And so that is where some of us felt that, the election had been nullified. The Constitution is clear. A repeat election has to happen within 60 days.
Yes.
And we were obligated to oversee the election by the Constitution and the laws. And so some of us are of the view that we should do our best again to make sure that we run a clean repeat election. And at that point, perhaps others had different views, and that is why we saw some people resign and leave and so.
Presidential elections, or rather the elections in Kenya are a right in the Constitution, a democratic right, and Kenyans turn out in their numbers to participate in the election, to vote whoever they feel they wish to lead them. But again comes a challenge, Prof, because the voting itself, the process is quite peaceful, is quite okay. The issue comes in the tally, and especially the presidential election, which now the commission comes under fire. What is usually the conflict or the disparity or the disconnect between the smooth voting exercise and the result?
Thank you for the question. I think what Kenyans see, the castigation of IEBC, all the allegations labeled against IEBC on matters elections, these are symptoms of an underlying problem.
Okay.
I think the underlying problem is that as a country, there is a lot of mistrust amongst, should I say, amongst the political leaders, and probably by extension amongst certain communities. And coupled with the fact that there is a winner takes it all kind of election, is actually the key, the root cause of the issues that we face in this country. And so the castigation of IEBC, the running around labeling the officials of IEBC names, these are just symptoms. But the root cause is mistrust, the kind of electoral process that we have, system that we have adopted, which is first past the post. That is where the challenge is, yes.
Okay,
because you cannot talk about democracy and the person with the majority vote wins, and then if that happens to come from routinely from certain ethnic communities, we are, I don't know, 45 or 46 ethnic communities now, what will the others say? Okay? So the others will always feel excluded, and because of that, they will not come out and say, we are rejecting these results because we have been excluded. Then they will look tribal. But now they will look for scapegoats to try and paint the results in bad light by blaming the arbiter of the election.
The former chairman, Isaac Hassan, in his book, he says, and I quote, in what may have been described as an indirect election, negotiated democracy, or democracy by installments, the control of the electoral process by the political elites, big businesses, and ethnic barons often produces a situation where the leaders choose their voters. This makes a mockery of a democratic election. We must also seek to improve the structure and operations of the Commission to enhance its effectiveness as an electoral body, because Joseph Stalin puts it thus, quote, people vote and they think they have decided. It is those who count the votes who decide everything. That's why I was asking, Prof, don't you think that it is sort of an indictment that every time this commission comes in, the commissioners such as you seem to be the ones blamed every time for whatever is the outcome?
I think I meant earlier the assertion that the root cause of this problem is first past the post, which as a country, it is the kind of electoral system that we have chosen.
Yes.
And unless we cure that problem, because what that means is the common understanding of what people say, you know, the winner takes it all. Mm-hmm. That is the outcome of that kind of a system that we have. Mm. And so for those who lose, there will always, in any competitive elections, there will always be winners and losers.
Yeah.
There is no time in an election you will have two winners. And so if the person who loses feels that you know, he is being dominated, then it means therefore, unless you look at the actual electoral system, and we probably try to blend that first past the post with some mixed or mixed proportional representation or mixed member representation or purely proportional representation, then this problem will always be there, and IEBC in whatever form it will be, and whoever will be overseeing it will always be blamed. Because in democracy, we have to accept that it is competitive. People will go for an election, votes will be cast, somebody will win, somebody will lose.
So then,
if the system we have adopted, you know, first past the post is such that, you know, if you get 50% and one vote plus one vote, then you become a winner. 50% of votes cast plus one extra vote, you are a winner. Then, I mean, it is a close margin. Yes, nearly half the electorate didn't vote for the winner. But does that justify, if that is the kind of system that we have adopted and we have put in our constitution, does it justify for us to go and fight that winner? So then, that is where the challenge is, actually, and we need as a country to address it. Do we need to have this winner first past the post as an electoral process? Do we blend it so that, you know, we can have a more representation of various other leaders in the governance of the country? I mean, it's something that we need to discuss.
Then how then would that discussion, if addressed, help the IEBC seem to be the perfect referee for an election?
You know, there will never be perfect referee.
Okay.
Don't be cheated. There will always be people who will say, IEBC, I lost my election because IEBC stole my election for somebody else. That will always be there. Because the nature of election is that somebody will win and somebody will lose. And however transparent the process of conducting that election is, the loser will always have to tell an excuse to his electorate.
Okay.
And the IEBC happens to be the perfect excuse or the scapegoat to tell to the electorate that, you know, you see, I didn't lose, but it was stolen from me. So that will always be there. But what we need to do as a country is to make sure that we look at the laws, strengthen them. I think in every election we have lessons to learn. We need to work closely as a commission with the legislative bodies of the country to enact proper laws and to make the process of elections more transparent, like we have done our best in 2022. Let the results be widely available, and whoever wants to make noise and say their votes are stolen, the Kenyans will tell them to shut up eventually.
Prof, you mentioned the 2022, you know, was successful, and you've alluded that, you know, quite a number of times. But then it appeared that the former commissioners, because you appeared before the Justice Aggrey Muchelule-led tribunal, and you said all the commissioners of the electoral body, that is the IEBC, were united until the last minute, you know, until the point of declaration. What then does that translate into the output? Don't you think that that also, whereas there are, you know, you say the public, you know, those who participate in the elections, the voters may never agree or, you know, be a perfect referee, but don't you think such rifts are quite an indictment to the commission?
I think people need to understand the background.
Yeah, give us the background.
as I mentioned earlier, in 2017, after the repeat general elections, immediately thereafter, we found the commission we needed to relook at the processes of the commission and improve on systems in order to make the 2022 election better. So we needed to have a good foundation for preparing the 2022 election.
Yeah.
And one of the things we had decided was to relook at our processes and to make sure that we improve on them. Of course, after every election, we do a post-election evaluation exercise, and this informs any changes that need to be made, for purposes of enhancing the subsequent election outcome. And so when we went through that process, we had issues with the CEO then, and so we found that we needed to take stock of what has happened. So we wanted to do an audit of, particularly on resources. You remember, we were being accused of, using a lot of resources for elections. We came too close to the election. We didn't know how resources were being, used before we came. And so we said, let's start with first doing an audit on election resources. And I think that was the reason that we had a fallout with our 3 commissioners who subsequently resigned sometime, I think it was 2018 or something.
Yeah.
They didn't want us to do the audit on the resources so that, we could understand. And for us, we were doing those resources, audit on the resources, so that it could inform in subsequent election how can we adjust or what can we adjust.
Yes.
So as to make sure that we use the little resource we get, prudently. And so the 3 of them were not for that idea. They said they would have, election was passed. Let's not worry about it. Whatever was spent is been spent. Let's move on. And for us, we said, 3 of us, we said we wanted to know how things were done so that we can see what to do differently.
Was the audit done?
It was done. The audit was done. I think subsequent to the audit, we had the CEO fired. And so we began now the process of internal reforms. When these other 3 who were opposed to the process, they resigned and they left. So that gave us even a better opportunity to, revamp the commission in terms of processes and procedures.
Okay.
And so that is where our journey started from. And so when we did whatever reforms we wanted to do, you remember we were fought a lot for us to be removed from office.
Yes.
Whether it was through parliaments, through, fictitious petitions, whether it was declarations in Harambes and roadside meetings or gatherings, political gatherings. We were being insulted left, right, center to leave office.
And are such calls, Prof, necessary for a commission?
Of course, it's not necessary, but they were determined to get us out of office. And so, and we were very firm. Each time we were approached, and we were approached by very senior people.
Would you mind?
I will not say what transpired, but we just told them, we are constitutional office holders. We did the election to the best of our ability in 2017. We conducted the repeat election. If we have done anything wrong, take us through the constitutional process. We are ready to face it.
These senior people, Prof, are they from government or opposition?
I mean, of course, it will be from government of the day. But so we stayed put, despite all that pressure,
Let's now come to the rifts of 2022.
Now, that's where I'm heading. Yes. And so when the powers that be and all the machinations to remove us out of office didn't work.
Yeah.
And they realized the 2022 election is fast approaching. Then there was only one other option open to them, those who were trying to hood us out of office. And that was to fill in the vacancies. So you remember in 2021, the process of filling the process, I mean the vacant
vacancies.
4 commissioners, commenced. And if you recall, that was the handshake government. And so I think even the IEBC Act was hurriedly changed to suit them in terms of the recruitment process they wanted to do. And so, sometime late in 2021, we were brought the extra 4 commissioners.
Yeah.
And so we welcomed them, opened up, to them about all that we were doing and all that we had done.
Yeah.
And for a while we thought, we were being open and, we had given them all the support they required to settle in office. We were very forthright with them in terms of sharing information, trying to make them comfortable to, to be able to participate in the remaining exercises. And so this went on well, I think, up to the election time.
So the ground had been cleared, everything was set for their entry, and did you gel well?
Well, we gelled well. We thought so from our side. We thought we had gelled well. We shared. I remember we were chairing so many committees because we were only 3. And so we had to restructure the committees to accommodate them, and they were chairing several other committees which we were initially holding together. And so that is, we welcomed them and, gave them all the support they required to settle in and to participate in the process. And this is what we thought, things were going to be okay.
Yeah.
But, of course, on the election day, we saw different side of our colleagues.
Yes. Did you see that coming, Prof? Did you ever foresee that other side you're talking about of your colleagues coming?
Not explicitly. Whatever they had in their hearts, we had meetings, we used to discuss meetings, we used to sometimes agree, disagree, but that's the nature of boardroom meetings.
Okay.
And so, but it was not explicit. But of course it became explicit when it came to the final hours of the tallying and announcement of results.
There has been an argument, if there appears to be a lack of unity or divided front, then that is, raises questionable queries regarding the outcome. So whereas they proceeded to, the rift the country witnessed on the announcement date, do you think that perhaps it was proper for you that are on the other side to continue and proceed to declare the results?
You see, the question is the timing of the rift.
Okay.
We planned the whole election together. Since they came on board, as I told you, we shared committees. We were holding, like I was holding several dockets together, so we had to restructure the committees again to allow them to chair certain committees. And we were mixed.
Yeah.
I would chair a committee and I would have them as members. They would chair committees and I would be a member.
Okay.
So
committees, when you say committees, Prof, such as?
We had several committees. We had a committee on ICT, we had a committee on election operations, we had a committee on HR, we had a committee on finance and procurement. So we had several committees.
Okay.
And so, and so, we worked seamlessly. Do the whole planning of the election. And then the election day, there wasn't any rift in the election day.
Not even whispers, Prof?
Human beings could have their own feelings. Yeah. They could probably mask them, but there was nothing, very obvious to us in terms of, the behaviors and the utterances. And so, if we plan together the elections throughout, chaired committees together, went to field together, went to oversee even outside the country, to oversee the external activities that were ongoing. And then the election happens, and we are all there. Then the verification of the results, which was happening, Bomas was generally a verification venue, and it was also the coordination of various activities in the country. And even then, we had different commissioners in charge of different activities. Okay. And again, we were mostly paired to look oversee certain activities. So all this was happening without any issues. Then the results start to trickle in.
That is on the evening of August 9th? Yeah,
I mean, August 9th is too soon. I think it started, the small...
August 8th, yes.
Yeah, then the small polling stations or polling stations with fewer number of registered voters will, of course, transmit early. Yes. So anyway, the process of, results coming in started. I mean, we were together in all that.
In one room?
In one room. We had one holding room.
Okay. At Bomas?
At Bomas.
Okay.
And so eating together, having meetings, and managing elections countrywide requires issues arise, in different parts of the country. Okay. We could have quick meetings, quick discussions, resolving issues, of course, depending on the dockets that each one of us was handling. So all this was happening seamlessly.
Okay. So
then the tallying process, the tallying and verification process began on the floor of the Bomas. I was overall in charge of the process, but commissioners were all present and participating in the exercise. You must have seen commissioners announcing constituencies, results of various constituencies.
Yes.
Actually, I never announced any result myself.
Okay.
And so this was all seamless. So the only disagreement arises at the 11th hour when it is a few hours to announcing the final result.
Okay.
Yes.
So
it tells you they must have been getting orders from somewhere.
Prof, I'm curious about, because you mentioned the 11th hour. At what point exactly? Because leading up to the 11th hour that you talk about, the sort of verification and fulfillment of the 50 plus 1%. At what point exactly? Because we did see the commission, the chairman, come in now towards the end, appear to make the announcements and make declarations and address the country somewhat alone. At what point exactly?
The question you're asking me is in public domain. I think we put this all in our affidavits to the Supreme Court.
Yes, but
so it's not anything confidential.
Okay.
And the disagreements arose around 3 p.m. thereabout. Because we had visitation from these guys calling themselves whatever the names, NSAG or National Security Committee. Again, this is in public domain. It was part of our affidavits, all of us, the commissioners, myself, the other commissioner, and the chairman. And so once they came, with certain advices in their opinion,
were you together?
On the outcome.
Yeah. Were you all together? Or?
We were all together. All of us together.
Okay. While they made the visitations, you're talking.
Yeah. I mean, they were in the Bomas from early morning of the 15th. I think 8:30, 9 p.m. And 9 a.m., 8:30, 9 a.m. They were there in the compound.
Okay.
But because we had a flurry of activities trying to conclude the process of the verification and tallying of results, we were not able to see them until about 2 o'clock or 2 p.m.
Okay.
And so, we had a discussion with them at 2 p.m. We gave them audience because they wanted to see all of us.
At a go.
And so we said 2 p.m. we can see them. And so they told us whatever they were telling us, and I think it is at that point that we started having divergence of opinion on the final results.
Yeah.
Because The message was, and I think again this is in public domain.
Yes.
The message was from these 4 guys, don't announce Ruto as the winner. Should he be the winner? If you can't announce otherwise, then force a runoff. I mean, that was the message. And so we had them. And this was all of us, 7 of us, together with the 4 of them.
Yes.
And each one of us, when they relayed their message, each one of us was given an opportunity to comment on the visitor's warning.
Well, how were the comments?
Well, I don't need to go into the details, but
why, Prof?
It is enough to say that the 4 of them were in favor of the warning, trying to say that the country is above all of us, and we should pay attention to what these senior guys have come to tell us.
What about you? How did you react?
But for us, I mean, the 3 of us, we said, we have a constitution. The constitution guides us on how an election winner in a presidential contest should emerge. And we swore to uphold that constitution.
Yes.
And so all we said was we will live with the constitution, regardless or irregardless of who the outcome is.
Prof,
at that point, we didn't even know who the winner was, because we didn't have the final results.
Did they, when the senior citizens came in and they made the appeal to you and made the comments they made to you, did they ask for feedback at a personal level, or did the grouping now, because the 4 you say supported the calls and the 3 of you, dissented?
No, I mean, they just said, this is the message we are bringing. Any Kenyan who will die, the blood of those Kenyans will be in your hands.
Okay.
If you don't do this, and if, in fact, they went ahead to say skirmishes and fights have already begun in certain areas. They mentioned particularly in Mathare and in Kibra.
Okay.
And they even said that certain communities were being accused of not supporting the other communities, and that it is taking an ethnic dimension. Those fights are taking ethnic dimension. To be precise, I mean, they said the Luos feel the Kikuyus didn't support them. And so the ethnic clashes that are beginning is going to take that direction. And we were warned, if there will be bloodbath, the blood of those Kenyans will be in our hands. And so what the chairman said after hearing from them is to give each one of us an opportunity to comment in their presence. I think myself and my other colleague, Commissioner Molu, we just said we will live with what the Constitution says, regardless of who loses and who wins.
Okay.
At that time, we didn't even know who the winner was. And so the chairman finally ruled and said, okay, we've heard, he told the senior guys who came, we've heard you, let us, now you can leave us to discuss further, and you can leave.
And they left.
So they left and we remained. And the 7 of us. And the discussions continued with our colleagues trying to prevail upon us to actualize the wishes of the emissaries, or should I say the
messengers.
The messengers who came. And at that point, we even had lots of detailed discussion. Some even saying, some of us were curious to find out, in their opinion, how we would have done what they wanted us to do. Some even suggesting, put these votes, immediately they left. And the CEO walks in with now the final result. Because when we were engaging these other guys who came to us, we didn't have results at that time. And some of us didn't even know what the result was or who the winner was. So when the CEO came in, the discussion now went ahead after they have seen the actual now figures. Some went even, start saying this is unacceptable, we should not announce this. And
the 4? Yeah. Up front. So our discussion ensued, some suggesting let's take the votes that this guy is winning with, let's put it in spoiled votes, and let's declare a runoff and give Kenyans another opportunity. So these were the discussions we were having. So as we found it very unconstitutional, and some of us believe in God. We saw with our holy books, and we said, no, gentlemen and ladies, we can't do this. We will follow the constitution that we swore to uphold. Were there heated exchanges in that moment?
We had some, not extreme, but we had exchanges in terms of our positions.
Okay.
Some of us say, no, we will uphold the constitution, without caring who loses and who wins. And them saying, we must declare, because it was obvious that the candidate, whoever they had in mind, didn't win. And so they wanted a runoff to happen. And we said, no, the constitution that we sought to uphold, we have to abide by it. So it is at that point that, the chair and some of the two of us, and actually we said, now we have the final results. We had announced to the whole country that we were going to give the final results at 3 p.m. We were past 3 p.m. at that time.
Still in the boardroom?
We were still in the boardroom, yes. And so we said, now we can't hold the country in suspense. We have to go and announce the results as received. And so we stood up, and
all of you?
We stood up at that point to go walk out, because we were in the boardroom of the CEO of Bomas, which was in a different building, which was a little bit a distance from the main tally center where we were.
Okay.
So we walk up to get out of the building to go and walk to the tally center to make the announcements. And so at that time, we walked out, only 3 of us. They remained in the boardroom. The 4 of them.
Okay.
So as we were walking, we said, okay, it looks like these people were with us, but they were not with us. And they had other plans. So that is the time we came to learn, we were probably not on the same page all along to have free, fair, and credible election. And so we just said, okay, we will do what is required of us and what we swore to do.
Prof, in that moment, what don't Kenyans know? Because of course there were no cameras, from the boardroom to the main telling center. But what did Kenyans perhaps miss, or don't they know about, the happenings between the moment, especially in that boardroom and when you left?
But what happened in the boardroom is what I've narrated.
I've listened.
And much of that is in the affidavits that we presented to Supreme Court, which is in public domain.
Perhaps, yeah.
But so when we went out, of course we went down the stairs and we took the back route so that we could approach the main Bomas verification center, tallying and verification center from the behind, from the basement. So as we were walking, we found ourselves only 3 of us, the chairman and my other colleague, and the CEO. And we decided we will move ahead and do what is expected of us. And so that's when we went approached the main tally center. We entered from the basement, the backside, went up the stairs and went to our holding room where we were all commissioners. We were holding there. So there we had one final copy of the whole result. The Form C presidential result is usually bulky. This one was in excess of 400 pages, I think 450 or 460, I can't remember. So it's a bulky document. And because of the time we had, we couldn't print so many copies. So we had printed one whole copy, and then we had constituency and county-based summary for for immediate use. You know. And so we went into our holding room, and then we called agents, because that's what we are expected of. Called the presidential agents into the holding room, gave them the summary version of the results, and we told them this is the complete result. You can look at it. We can print for you hard copies as soon as the announcement is done. We can give you soft copies as soon as the announcement is done. And we invited them to look at it and sign the agents section for them to sign. So we had 3 agents signed the copies, and the Azimio agent declined to sign, saying that he wanted to scrutinize each of the 400 plus pages of that document. And we told him we were here 6 days exactly doing that. You have not raised any substantive issue for 6 days. How can you ask to scrutinize page by page, 400 pages over, I think it was 450 or 460 pages, and we had less than a day to finish our statutory timeline to announce the results. So we knew this was just somebody.
And time was moving.
And time, of course, we had only 1 day left. And so we knew this was a deliberate attempt to try and derail our announcement, and we didn't want to play to those games.
Okay.
So that is the time he walked out and mobilized goons down there who came to batter us on the stage.
So, Prof, a quick one. How did you balance the visitations and the fulfilling the will of the people? How did you balance that? The visitations by the senior citizens and proceeding with what you had, as you call it, the will of the people.
We had various visitations from the so-called senior citizens. I mean, on 14th we had another team.
Yeah.
Before that we had some other former governor and somebody else. I mean, we entertained visitations. But where a suggestion was contravening the constitution on the laws of the country, then we would give them audience, but it will not sway our decision in terms of doing the right thing.
So, Prof, having been an insider, there are current, even now, calls for reforms, electoral reforms, every now and then. They have happened year in, year out, after every election cycle. As an expert, what's your take on that, and is it the right way to go?
We have done reforms literally after every election.
Yes.
And reforms are not bad per se, because when you conduct 6 elections, because what Kenyans don't know is we are doing 6 elections in 1 day.
Okay.
And conducting such a task of huge magnitude, there will be bound for little errors here and there. And so it's always good to improve on them. And so, in my opinion, there are certain things that we need to pay attention to, even as we do reforms in elections. I think the first thing is we have 6 elections in 1 day. Okay. It's a huge toll on the staff of the commission. 6 elections, imagine they have to announce, like the constituency returning officers. By law, they are required to announce 2 positions.
Okay.
The MCA and the MP. And remember, these people, the candidates who are MCAs and MPs, are all at the constituency tally center, making noise at them. Now we are in Nairobi calling him, or these are returning officers at the constituency, please send presidential results. So in terms of, the election happens at the polling station. Once the polling station closes, the sequence, there are 6 elections, as I mentioned, there are 6 ballot boxes to be counted by that presiding officer at the polling station. And by design, we ask them to, or by law, we ask them to start with the presidential.
Yeah.
So that form, the presidential result form, has to be filled by the PO first, then goes to the others. Okay? And now, when the PO presiding officer comes to the constituency, now he will bring all the result forms for all the 6 elective positions. Now, he has to collate and tally the results for the MCA and the MP and announce. Then for the others, he brings it, for those that are county-based positions, he brings it, he does constituency tally and then brings to the constituency county returning officer.
Yes.
Who announces the governor, senator, and women rep. Then he has to travel with all the polling stations in their constituencies. The Form 34 is the results, the original results for the polling station. He has to bring them to Nairobi. So it's a huge toll on our returning officers, I think. So to make sure elections are smooth, our staff usually, for 7 days, they hardly sleep.
So the reforms you're talking about...
So what I'm suggesting is, can we have a county-based elections?
On a different date?
On a different date than the national elections. The county-based elections could be county positions, the governor, the senator that oversees the counties, and the MCA. They could be held maybe much earlier than the presidential or the national one, where the national one could be the presidential, the MP, the member of National Assembly, and the women rep. So that can be done at a separate time. It will make the work easier. They will be less stressed. They can probably do better in terms of the execution. So that's one reform area that probably as a country we need to consider. Now, we live in a highly ethnicized country. There is a lot of political mistrust. And politicians have pulled Kenyans in different directions. They pull them apart in terms of trying to galvanize their ethnic communities, against each other. And so, in such an environment, I don't know, is first past the post appropriate? It's something that we need to interrogate as a country.
Prof, allow me to interject, because the first past the post, the first past the post, and whoever comes in second, right now we are seeing a scenario where the one who came in second and the first past the post are beginning to have talks. And how does that make you feel? And where does that leave the IEBC and all these companies?
Actually, it's a mockery of democracy.
Okay.
The so-called talks. What are you talking about? You voluntarily went into an election. Remember, we had broad daylight pledges of abiding by the results or the outcome of the elections. In KICC, all of them, the candidates, signed commitments to abide by the outcome of the elections and to be peaceful. Okay. Now, what is the point of going into an election, spend billions of money on it? The commission deploys in excess of 400,000 personnel across the country. You spend a lot of time. And thereafter, you don't respect the outcome of that particular process. I mean, it's a mockery of democracy. So I think Kenyans need to decide whether they want to have competitive elections, or instead of having elections, they sit under a tree, whether it is in State House or elsewhere, and agree, the political barons can agree on how to share power.
Because then, how that conversation should it be held then? Because having been a commissioner at the IEBC, how would you curate that conversation of ensuring that we don't get to this stage where we have political noise after an election?
No, that's what I was trying to enumerate. I mean, what needs to be done?
Yes.
I mean, first of all, let's look at the elections. Can we
separate days?
Them? Have the county elections separate, maybe ahead of the national elections, maybe 1 month, 1 year, 6 months, 1 year apart. That's one option. Let's interrogate first past post. Is it the best model for us? In a country where we have in excess of, 44, 45, 46 ethnic communities, is this the most appropriate way of electing our leaders? For now, it's only the presidential which has a little bit of adjustment where we say they must get 25% of the votes cast in a majority of the counties. That is the only other addition to 50+1. I mean, do we need to have, you know, a different model? I mean, there are other models, proportional representations, mixed member representation. I mean, as a country, we need to have conversation so that we can have more people participating in the governance of the country. The other thing that we can do is, I mean, we could look at party primaries. Do they really serve the purpose? We have seen how chaotic they are, how undemocratic they are.
Yeah.
I mean, there are conversations that we need to have around party primaries. And I think there are a number of other things
yes, Prof,
we would want to share with you if there will be opportunity for us to give our views on.
Okay, so then does it mean we will look at the IPPG of 1997 and then how political parties and politicians are involved in the selection panel of commissioners? How is that model?
I mean, it's a model that has been tried. I have a reservation about the independence of the institution that is conducting elections if the people overseen are not themselves independent in terms of their political inclination. So if I am a representative of a particular political party in the commission that is supposed to be independent, can that commission be independent really? I mean, it's a conversation we need to have.
Yes.
Yes.
So then it would...
There are countries where political parties, you know, suggest commissioners to run the elections. I mean, is this the way we want to go? I mean, it's a conversation worth having, and really, do we then talk about an independent commission?
Yeah, because I wanted to compare what, you know, global democracies, you know, go through. What would be perhaps in your tours as a commission of the IEBC, what are some of the places that perhaps you could point out and say such and such a country is doing well because they have adopted such and such a model, and it could be perhaps be mirrored in our country?
You know, whichever model you adopt,
yes,
it really depends on the citizens of that country. In those other countries, I mean, they have different models. There are models where the commissioners are coming from mainstream government appointments. There are models where they come from political parties. And so we have these across the globe, different models. But ideally, the best model is a model where the people on whose behalf those elections are being held will respect the outcome of that election. We are in a country where I said the root cause of our issues is ethnicity, negative ethnicity.
Yes.
So in such an environment, I don't know which model you will use to cure negative ethnicity.
Because as you look at it, Prof, now, there are, you know, we do not have commissioners of the commission as it is right now.
Yes, we don't have a commissioners, but there is no lacuna in the law for not having commissioners.
Okay.
It's all because we don't want to follow the law as it is. Yes.
So that then boils down, as I was asking, to the political involvement of the political class in the political parties.
Well, that is not, the current law does not say that.
Yes.
We have a law in place. The IEBC Act clearly has a schedule which has been amended in the handshake government. And subsequently, people went to court. The process was questioned. I think the early life of this parliament, I mean, after the 2022 general elections, the early life, they tried to pay attention to the judgments of the courts to improve on the process. And so that process was passed by parliament. I mean, it may be acrimonious, but who said even when they were doing the adjustments in the handshake government, it was not acrimonious? I mean, it's a common game in Kenya.
Okay.
So there is no lacuna in law. The process is in place.
It's in place.
I do not see why IEBC should be handicapped because of the wishes of certain politicians, or political interests.
Right. So was there...
we either have to choose to be independent, to have an independent commission that will run the election, or we drop the word independent and have a group of representatives of political parties who will run an election. Whether that election will be run or not, it is for all Kenyans to guess. In my opinion, there will be no election.
Yes. So as a Kenyan and as one who served in the commission, then did the commission perform 100% objectively and fairly?
In the 2022 general election,
yes,
we've had the best election in terms of free, fair, and transparency in the conduct of the election. All the result forms, remember result forms, once the presiding officers fill the statutory form at the polling station, and we had 46,229 polling stations. Once they filled at the polling station, in the presence of agents and observers and all other people in those polling stations, the result was being uploaded into a public portal. And we had 99.9% success in the transmission of those forms. So Kenyans actually had the opportunity to do their own tallies. And we had institutions, some of them media houses, that did the tally. And the outcome was almost the same as what we had eventually. So we had the most transparent, the most credible election. But because we are Kenyans and we are highly ethnicized country, and we have a deficit of trust, nothing good will ever be good.
Yes. So, Prof, what would be your highs and lows during your tenure at the Commission?
I think the negative publicity at the Commission.
Yes.
Some of us were ethnically profiled. We were being called names, being ridiculed. And for me, I had come from an academia background. We had, I came from a place where, colleagues were respecting each other, and we had a very good relationship with our staff and other colleagues. Coming to a place where you are being insulted literally every day. I think that was one of what I didn't like most in the Commission. But having said that, I think the outcome of our 2022 general election, it gave me that it was worth the insults, worth the name calling, when we had the best, most freest, if there is anything like that, election in this country and in the region. I think that was also my high. I ended my tenure on a high note after having had almost 6 years of insults throughout. Yeah.
So, and then your highs, perhaps apart from succeeding at a personal level, did you feel that the oath you took, or the oath of office, you lived by it from start to finish?
Absolutely. Yes. I have never been guided by anything else other than fidelity to the law. I think, and I would urge any commissioner who wants to come to IEBC must never be a stooge to any politician. They must live as per the law. They must implement the laws of the country. And above all, they will be swearing in the name of whatever God they believe in. And therefore, they should make sure at some point, when people will not be seen, they will be asked.
Eric Arege on Twitter asks, Judge Menga asked questions regarding allegations that were brought up by the 4 commissioners concerning a purported planned assassination against them. Being an IEBC commissioner is evidently a task considering the hurdles they went through. Would you speak to that?
Who planned assassination against who?
Brought up by the 4 commissioners regarding a purported planned assassination against them, the other 4.
I am not aware of any planned assassination.
Okay.
If anything...
Did you receive threats yourself?
Well, we went into hiding after we announced the elections. You remember what happened at the podium?
Yes.
I was actually injured most during that commotion, which some of them call themselves honorable, but really they include governors, senators, MPs who are subjecting us to that humiliation. At the end of the day, we were held, seats, and some of us, I was bleeding from both legs after that fracas. And so we felt threatened. And so that is why after we announced, when the chairman came, he came alone because I was injured, bleeding from both legs. I think the scars, I can even show you, I have them here, of that election. My colleague, the CEO, Marjan, was hit with a blunt object at the back of his head. And so he had a swollen head at the back. And so we had, because we didn't know from the reactions that happened on the floor of the podium, we didn't know what was in store for us. And so we had to naturally go and we felt threatened, and we had to go and, hide somewhere and see how things are going.
How about your families? Did you ever face threats at a family level?
Our families, of course, they were being ridiculed. I remember, my family being isolated by our colleagues. I have children in school. I never used to visit them during Parents' Day because I didn't want anyone to know they are my children.
Okay.
But somehow word goes out, even then. And so I remember my son telling me in school, Daddy, when I'm going to the school kiosk, they tell me pesa ya Ruto imekuja. So that's the level of, my family has been going through. But they were strong people. I told them, it's part of the job that I'm doing, and it's not going to be forever.
Yes.
And so those hazards were there.
Yeah. And so what have you been up to since retirement?
I had gone back, of course, enjoying my time in the newest city in Kenya, Nakuru City.
Yes.
I went back to my family, who have always been in that city. I didn't have a lot of time with them in the 6 years. Now I'm spending time with my family. I had lost touch with many of my friends over the 6 years, and I'm reconnecting with my colleagues. I'm going back, to my academia life, getting in touch with my colleagues, and so that's how I'm spending my time now.
Yeah. And will you be writing a book? You've seen the former chairman wrote a book. Will you be writing a book too?
Certainly, there is more than enough to write, not just one volume, but more than one volume of books. It's something that I'm considering, yes.
You said you wouldn't wish to go back to that position, but would you refer someone to that position, and what would be your advice?
As long as they know what they're getting into,
yes,
and as long as they have the courage to withstand political pressures, to withstand deep state pressures.
So the deep state exists?
Yes, it exists. We saw it live. So if you can't withstand those pressures, and if you cannot say no to power, don't go to IEBC.
Okay.
Yes.
If the government offered you another job right now, would you take it up?
I'm a Kenyan. I'm qualified, Kenyan, competent. I do my work diligently. If I am offered an opportunity, I will serve my country. Yeah.
But not at the IEBC?
Not at the IEBC, of course. But the Constitution, again, doesn't allow me to serve there. So.
Okay. Have you ever set foot back at Anniversary Towers since your retirement?
I haven't been there. I think I went there only once to collect something.
Okay.
But I haven't been to Anniversary Towers for months.
In When you think about it...
But I don't mind going back there. I mean, I'm not banned from going to Anniversary House. 6 years, I have made lots of friends there. And they are very good, hardworking, dedicated Kenyans serving this country in IEBC. And Kenyans should treasure them, Kenyans should be proud of them, and Kenyans should give them support to do their job.
Yeah, and are you in touch with the former chairman? How is he doing?
I was talking with him even yesterday.
Okay.
Chairman is fine. He's probably somewhere in Nairobi.
Yes.
Enjoying himself. I know he has been out of the country, traveling around. He was making presentations on different places. But he's back. He's back now. Yeah. We are in touch.
Yeah. Do you discuss the election, and what are some of the thoughts that you shared after whatever happened?
We do reflect on the days we had. And I am happy that we are all satisfied, especially the three of us, that the commitment we made to each other in 2018 to revamp the commission and to hold the most freest election for the country came to pass. So it's something we enjoy talking about it.
Yeah, and the other 4 commissioners, are you in touch? Did you ever keep in touch afterwards?
No, since they left me in Bomas, I have never talked to any of them.
Okay. So, Prof, your closing remark, perhaps you can look into that camera and, speak to Kenyans regarding electoral reforms, democracy, and what they need literally to do, and perhaps should they trust the IEBC?
I think I'd like to tell the country that this country is fortunate to have men and women serving in the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the IEBC. They need to support them, they need to encourage them. It is unfortunate that, once in a while during, elections, we end up losing lives of commission staff who are serving this country with a lot of dedication. We lost, you remember, Chris Musando. In 2017, we lost Daniel Musyoka in 2022. Nobody should die for serving this country in IEBC. Kenyans should support the commission. It's a commission that has a lot of dedicated, competent, and very professional in how they do their things.
Okay.
It's ironical that we hold 6 elections in a day. And for an election that is held by the same institution, IEBC, by the same officials, overseen by the same officials, right from chairman to the returning officers at the constituency, and run by the temporary officials, over 400,000 of them. But the 5 elections are okay. But 1 election is never okay. I mean, that should tell Kenyans something, Yes. And so I think Kenyans chose to, in their 2010 constitution, to have a democratic country. And they have chosen that they will have their leaders by way of elections. And we either go by the outcome of elections, or we need to have a conversation on how to have elections or how to have our leaders in office if the elections that we hold as a country is always being subjected to unnecessary vilification.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much indeed. That has been Professor Abdi Guliye, former Commissioner of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Abdi Guliye, Prof, thank you so much for speaking to us and, of course, unraveling the issues that surrounded his tenure, his 6-year tenure at the IEBC, having overseen 2 elections, the 2017 and the 2022 election. I can see your feedback coming. You can keep it, the conversation going on online. My name is George Maringa. Thanking you so much on behalf of the entire team. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. I'll see you tomorrow on the People's Court and again next week on the Daily Report for this conversation and others on politics and power. Good night from Nairobi.